Good morning everyone. Happy Ramzan to all and happy lockdown also. Hope you are all following lockdown rules. Stay home, stay safe. I am here today to teach you general concepts of fracture and dislocation of long bones. In this topic, we will see few definitions first. First, fracture. What is a fracture? Fracture is a structural break in normal continuity of the bone. I'll repeat. Fracture is a structural break in the normal continuity of the bone. Dislocation is total disruption of joint with no remaining contact between two articular surfaces. It is total disruption of joint with no contact between articular surfaces. Then what is subluxation? Subluxation is partial disruption of the joint with minimal or abnormal contact between two articular surfaces. Is that clear? Now we will see pathology of the fracture healing. Fracture pathology is little different in tubular bones and in cancellous bones. In tubular bones, there are two theories. First, hematoma or induction theory, and second, periosteal proliferative theory. I'll repeat. Pathology of fracture healing is little different in tubular bones and cancellous bones. In tubular bones, they say there are two views, there are two theories regarding healing of the fracture. First theory called as hematoma or induction theory, and second theory called as periosteal or proliferation theory. Fracture of the shaft of long bone disrupts bone matrix, periosteum, endosteum, blood vessels in the medullary canal, in cortex, in periosteum, in soft tissue. Matrix being inert does not contribute to the bone healing. Blood vessels, endosteum, periosteum, osteocyte are involved and they contribute to the bone healing. As I told you, due to fracture there is a disruption of periosteum, endosteum and blood vessels. There is a hematoma formation. So we are going to see the first theory of fracture healing, hematoma theory or induction theory. What happens when there is a fracture? Hematoma formation occurs at the site of fracture. This hematoma gets invaded by granulation tissue. This hematoma is removed by macrophages which are present at the apices of the capillary loop. In about 2 weeks, there is laying of loose connective tissue in that hematoma which is composed of collagen fibers. This connective tissue later on gets calcified and then ossified. I'll repeat one more time. Hematoma or induction theory. Hematoma formation at the site of fracture occurs immediately after the trauma. This hematoma gets invaded by granulation tissue. Removal of hematoma is done by macrophages at the apices of the capillary loop. In around 2 weeks, laying of loose connective tissue occurs which is composed of collagen fibers in the area of hematoma. This connective tissue eventually gets calcified and then ossified. Ossification is complete bone formation. There is one more theory called as periosteal or proliferative theory. In hematoma theory, you can see this figure, how that hematoma is getting ossified, calcified and ossified. In periosteal or proliferative theory, what happens when there is a fracture? It stimulates bone forming stem cells of periosteum and endosteum. Due to fracture, bone forming stem cells at periosteum and endosteum get stimulated. This leads to several thick layers of formation of several thick layers around each fracture fragments. Each fracture fragment, there is a formation of callus around the fracture called as collar of the callus. Thus, formation of distinct collar of callus is formed. These two callus grows progressively towards each other, eventually to meet and to fuse. These, can you see, this is a collar around the fracture fragment. Eventually it gets attracted to each other, they fuse and meet and fuse. In hematoma theory, bone needs to join together as hematoma gets organized and replaced by loose connective tissue. Repair tissue has very little strength. When it unites, called as soft callus, it has got a very little strength. But in 3 weeks, fibrocartilaginous tissue is formed, matrix becomes calcified and then ossified. This repair tissue is known as callus. Histologically, this callus is composed of randomly distributed mass of fibrous tissue, cartilage and woven bone. Whatever the mode of callus formation, you can see there are two views, hematoma theory or periosteal theory or proliferative theory. In both the views there is one thing common is formation of callus. Whatever is the mode of callus formation, anatomically dividing line between callus and bones becomes blurred. Eventually, mass composed of callus and cortical bone is replaced by a fully differentiated Harvestian bone bridging the fracture site. At this point, bone gets original strength, rigidity, but anatomical and radiologically there is still abnormal picture. Anatomy of bone comes to the normal after years of remolding and remodeling. Now, pathology of fracture healing in cancellous bone. Pathological events are same as in long bone fractures. Clinically and radiological appearance is different. As fracture callus is spread evenly throughout honeycomb and honeycomb of the cancellous bone. In cancellous bone, there is no callus formation around the bone. The callus is formed within the bone only, which can be seen as a sclerotic area at two fracture fragments. Radiologically, callus does not appear as bony mass around the bone. It is seen as zone of increased radiolucency, known as zone of sclerosis at the fracture site. Now, clinical features of the fracture. Patient has pain which is mild to severe, tenderness, swelling, bruising, loss of function, and sometimes you get crepitus. Crepitus is on palpation at the fracture site, two fracture fragments get, there is a friction between two fracture fragments giving a crackling sound called as crepitus. Usually, the most popular way of diagnosing fracture is a radiograph or X-ray. Now, according to the X-ray picture or according to the position of the fracture fragments, we have classified or fractures according for their description. Fracture description. First is compound fracture. Second, according to the site, which part of the bone is involved. That is intra-articular, epiphyseal, diphyseal or metaphyseal. Then according to the fracture line, transverse fracture, spiral fracture, short oblique fracture, comminuted fracture. According to the displacement of fracture fragments, shift, angulation, shortening, twist and distraction. I'll tell you one more time how we classify fractures according to the either it is compound or non-compound. Compound fracture means a fracture in which fracture hematoma communicates with the skin or mucous membrane is called as compound fracture. According to the site, which part of bone is involved? Intra-articular fracture line inside the joint cavity. Epiphyseal in the epiphyseal area, metaphyseal in the metaphyseal area and diphyseal in the diphyseal area. Fracture line. If fracture line is transverse, it is called as transverse fracture. This is spiral fracture. This is short oblique, this is comminuted. There are multiple fractures at the same site. Comminuted fracture has multiple fractures at the same site. There are more than 2 fracture fragments. According to the displacement, this is shift, this is angulation, this is shortening. Due to muscle pull, fracture fragment gets move towards each other, causing overriding, called as shortening. Distraction, when due to muscle pull sometimes fracture fragments gets pulled away from each other, causing distraction. General rules of fracture healing. Lower limb fractures takes twice as long as to unite as compared to the upper limbs. Lower limb fractures takes double time to get united as compared to the upper limb. Fracture in adult takes twice as long time to unite as compared to the children. Usually in children, fractures gets united in 3 weeks, whereas in adults it is considered as 6 weeks. Transverse fractures takes more time to unite than spiral or oblique fracture. Transverse fractures take more time to unite than spiral or comminuted fractures, because there is a lots of raw area. Formation of callus is more in the oblique and comminuted fractures. Compound and comminuted fractures takes more time as compared to the close fractures. No fractures unites in less than 3 weeks. Factors influencing time for fracture healing. Which factors influence the fracture healing? Age, as I told you, constitution, blood supply. Sometimes some bony area has got a less blood supply, as if fracture in the scaphoid or fracture in intra-articular fracture of the neck femur. Due to fracture, the blood supply of that fragment, it gets distorted or diminished or cut. As there is no blood supply to the fracture fragment, eventually it becomes avascularity, leads to necrosis, bony necrosis. Soft tissue damage also contributes to the fracture healing, apposition of the fracture fragments and immobilization. We will stop today here. We will cover other things in the next lecture. Thank you.